Hello there guys, and welcome to another one of my reviews. Today we are going to take a closer look at the brand new Kia Sportage, or Sportage depending on how you want to call it. This is the 5th generation Kia Sportage ever launched, and it comes to fill the shoes of Kia's most popular car overall worldwide. This was its best-selling car for the last few years, overtaking the much cheaper and much more compact Rio. And that is quite surprising, because usually when it comes to most popular cars in a manufacturer's range, that is usually directly linked to the pricing strategy. So the fact that the Sportage was more expensive and actually sold better than the Rio says a lot about this car's qualities. Now, for the new generation, Kia decided to give its Sportage model everything it has in its arsenal to make it as competitive as possible in the segment it operates in, because the Sportage is fighting in a highly disputed segment, the C segment, for compact crossovers, where it has to face enemies like the Nissan Qashqai, the Hyundai Tucson, which is basically this car's brother, and Mazda CX-5, among many other options. This is the most contested segment in the world right now, as everyone is seeking to buy a crossover. So it is riding on a brand new platform that is shared with the Hyundai Tucson. It has a lot of new engines, most of them hybrid, but you can also get a diesel as well. It has all the gearboxes you can imagine, all the technology you can think of. So we're going to talk about all of that later on. For now, let's talk about the design. As you can tell, it's a brand new design from Kia. It's a design that moves a bit away from the tiger nose up here in the front. And that's a shame, because I actually liked that tiger nose design philosophy, but it's a controversial front end if you want to, because not everyone will like it, but it is unmistakably an Asian car. So we have these daytime running lights over here that are absolutely huge. You can't really miss them. These are the signal lights, and these are the headlamps. You have all the functionality, but with a very interesting design. We have a huge grille up front, and the car we are testing today is dressed up in white, which is not exactly the color I would go for. It's a pearl white, but I would go for a different shade, and that's why I'm going to use B-roll footage with a different shade for this car. I'm not a fan of white on this model, because it makes it seem a bit more compact than it really is, and it distorts your view of the car. So from the sides, the proportions are pretty simple. The car did grow in length by 15 millimeters. It's 4.5 meters long right now, and you can have it with 17 or 18-inch wheels. We have the 18-inch wheels on this car, wrapped up in Pirelli winter tires. From the sides, you'll also notice that the doors cover the door sills, so you won't get your trousers ruined when you get in or out of the car, and maybe it's quite dirty from the road. So around the back, we have a similar, completely new design. We have new tail lamps and a black bar that goes from side to side. It's not an LED light bar, so don't get that confused with what you find on an EV6, but I do get a certain EV6 vibe over here in the back. The tailgate does open rather wide, and you get 3 different boot sizes depending on the kind of drivetrain you go for. If you go for a normal internal combustion engine model, you have 591 liters of space. If you go for a hybrid version like the one we have over here, you get 587 liters of space. But if you go for the plug-in hybrid version, you lose about 40 liters of space in the boot. Inside the cabin, you'll find a completely new design, just like you would on the outside of the car. So what you will notice is that everything has been reworked. Nothing from the old Kia Sportage is noticeable inside the new model over here. So we have a good mix of materials. We have soft touch plastic on the top side of the door panels. We have soft touch plastic on the dashboard. We have leather on the center part of the door panels, and everything feels rather nice up until this level over here, up until, I don't know, under the center console, because from this point downwards you get cheaper plastics, but they're not cheaper compared to the rivals in the segment. They are cheaper compared to the plastics found on the top layer of the car. But overall, it's a good mix. I don't like the fact that we have so much black glossy plastic over here. The center console is filled with glossy black plastic that's going to be filled with fingerprints and dust over time, and it's probably going to scratch rather easily as well. We also have the same sort of trims over here on the door panels right next to the buttons for various functions of the car, so they will get scratched up in the future. The worst part about this is that you can't really get a different material over here, so that's that. We have an intelligent panel over here that switches from the HVAC controls to the multimedia controls by the touch of a button. That's very well integrated, and I like it a lot. And of course, we have to talk about the huge screen, or screens might I say, because even though they are compiled in one huge curved display, these are two separate screens, and you can configure them as such. They don't come as standard. They are 12.3 inches for the instrument cluster and 12.3 inches for the multimedia system, but they don't come as standard. Base models will get 8.3 inches, no, 8.8 inches displays on both sides, so you can configure them whichever way you want. Maybe you want the 8.8 inch instrument cluster and the 12.3 inch multimedia system, or vice versa. You can configure them whichever way you like. I would say go for the two 12.3 inch systems because they are worth the money and they make the interior look space age. So I would go for both of them. In terms of functionality, the instrument cluster is exactly the same as you would find on any other Kia or Hyundai model these days. It has the exact same design. The instrument cluster has the rev counter and the speedometer. They are adjustable, and you have a new background choice if you want to. It's called dynamic, and it turns into some sort of, it makes the background of the instrument cluster a sort of green pasture. It looks actually really nice, and I decided to stick with that. But you also have those smart rear view mirrors. Basically, whenever you turn on the light on the left side or the right side, you get a live stream into your instrument cluster from the adjacent rear view mirror camera. So basically you have blind spot monitoring at all times. You just have to turn on the signal, and let's say you want to turn left, you turn on the left side blinker, and the camera will send a live feed to your dashboard in order to let you know what's in your blind side. So that's pretty cool. It's found on the Sportage as well. It's not really new, but I had to mention it. Also, the infotainment system is classical Kia. It has all the function you could possibly need. It's easy to use, very easy to learn. You have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay included as standard, but they are wired so far, and you have to use this USB Type-A cable over here. Quite interesting because all the other USB ports in this car are Type-C. So right next to this Type-A over here, you have a USB-C port over here, and two more, one in each of the front seats for the rear passengers. Over here we have the buttons for the heated and cooled seats and driving modes and every other function in the car. Overall, I like it. I like the seats a lot. They are very comfortable, and they offer a surprisingly amount of side bolstering, even though this car is not necessarily meant to be interpreted or noticed as a sporty one, but they do have a lot of side support, and they are heated and ventilated, which is rather nice. And they are made of leather with Alcantara side bolstering. Once again, a very good combo. In terms of space, I have plenty of room. I'm 6 feet tall, 250 pounds, and as you can see, there's plenty of room, headroom, knee room, elbow room. This A-pillar does cut into my field of view at times, but it's not a huge problem. The moment you get behind the wheel of the new Kia Sportage, you instantly feel the fact that this car is riding on a brand new platform, and you can tell by the way it rides, because it has a completely new chassis, a completely new platform, a completely new set of dampers, and a completely new suspension, and it feels a lot more defined than it did before. Compared to the old model, everything is better in absolutely every way. So the suspension does its job brilliantly. It soaks up the bumps really well. It still keeps a bit of firmness because Kia wanted to offer the owners of a Sportage model the ability to drive, faster fashion. It's not a race car, it's not a sporty car, but it has to keep its composure in a corner at higher speeds. So I think that's what Kia was going after. Kia knows its demographic really well. As I said, this is their best-selling car, and we'll see if that happens with the new model as well. But overall, it is a very refined car. It's well insulated. The sound insulation is very good, even at higher speeds. At 130 kilometers an hour, the car is rather quiet, and that's something I really like. So on the highway, you'll have plenty of punch for any kind of overtake if you buy this version. We are driving the full hybrid version. There are a number of choices available depending on where you live. The US versions are a bit longer and they have bigger engines. They have 2-liter and 2.5-liter engines, but most of the world will have 1.6-liter engines under the hood, both diesel and petrol engines. So I want to applaud Kia for keeping the diesel choice still available in the range. You have two diesel engines, one with 116 horsepower, one with 136 horsepower. And you can have them with mild hybrid setups or not. And you can also have the 1.6-liter engine also as a mild hybrid or not. You can have it in a full hybrid version like this one. You can have it with a plug-in hybrid version, which is the most powerful one you can get. You can have it with front-wheel drive, with all-wheel drive. There are a number of choices available. You can have a manual gearbox, you can have an automatic gearbox. They will vary depending on the model you go for. For example, the full hybrids get a older 6-speed automatic gearbox. The one we're driving is the full hybrid. The internal combustion engine has 180 horsepower and it's joined by an electric motor delivering 60 horsepower. So overall you get up to 230 horsepower and 350 Newton meters of torque. The best part about it is that you get instant torque because of, thanks to the electric motor that's found in the gearbox housing. And the throttle response is really good, especially in sport mode, because we have two driving modes, eco and sport. In sport mode, the torque is delivered faster than in eco mode and the car feels a bit livelier. Also, the suspension stiffens up, the steering stiffens up, and everything works as you would expect it to. This is the first Kia Sportage with an electronically controlled set of dampers. So the suspension does stiffen up in sport mode, but don't take this car as a sporty model in any way. It's not. It will understeer, it will lean into the corners, but that's not the point of the car. Kia wanted to offer a comfortable, refined car with plenty of room inside and with a well-built cabin. And I think it delivered on all of those fronts. It does its job really well. In terms of fuel consumption, I noticed that this car sipped only 7 liters per 100 kilometers covered around town, which is absolutely brilliant for a car of this size. However, since this is a hybrid on the highway, you will have some issues with the fuel consumption. And by that I mean it will go up because the electric motor won't chip in unless you're overtaking. So on the highway at 130 kilometers an hour, I saw an average fuel consumption of 9 liters per 100 kilometers covered, which might seem a lot, but I think it's okay. And I think you should buy the car depending on your needs. If you're going to do a lot of highway miles, maybe stick to the diesel. If you're going to drive around town, maybe get a hybrid. So that's going to be down to the customer at the end of the day. Therefore, I really enjoyed the Kia Sportage. I think it is one of the best cars in the range. Best cars in the segment, but it does have a problem, and that's the pricing. All of this new tech, new suspension, new platform does come at a cost. And the new Sportage is considerably more expensive than the old model. And that's gonna be an issue for a lot of people. Now, the car we're driving, pricing will vary depending on the market, but the car I'm driving is over 40,000 euros. And on this local market, that puts it within hitting range of the Toyota RAV4, the Honda CR-V, and other models. It still competes with cars like the Nissan Qashqai, the Mazda CX-5, or the Hyundai Tucson. But overall, it is considerably more expensive. If it's worth the money, well, considering how much tech you get and how much better this car is compared to the old one, that's going to depend on you. You will decide if it's worth the money with your own personal checkbook. If it is, please let me know in the comment section below. I am very interested to see what you guys have to say. If you enjoyed this review, don't be shy and give me a like and maybe a subscribe to keep this channel alive. Until next time, don't forget to feed your passions. Ciao.